Good morning, everybody. This is Judith Echo. You're listening to Mad Love. Let's get into it. So, there is a new episode of Mugshots and Murders out. Please go look for it and listen to it on Spotify. And it's about a curious case. I don't recall this case happening. Um, did a lot of research on it. A lot of podcasters have already talked about it, which is interesting, but they didn't take the angle that I took, which was, you know, what role does, the lack of public mental health hospitals play in a situation like this? So there was a young man, he had been involved with an older man. He was schizophrenic and bipolar. The younger man he's outside dancing on the corner, getting all this attention, posting reviews on Amazon about, katanas, which are samurai swords, basically, and just out here living his best mental breakdown life. And, you know, he thought he was the Antichrist, all kinds of stuff. And the older gentleman felt bad for him. Went to see about him and wound up getting sliced up to death uh, in the bathroom by this guy with his katana. I believe I couldn't find a connection. He had purchased a katana and reviewed it on Amazon. And a katana, I know this because one of my college roommate's son, when he was young, wanted me to buy him a like a plastic katana. And I was like, this seems like a weird toy. I mean, I wound up buying it, but I kept calling it a sword, and he was like, "It's a katana." I was like, "Okay." So I know what a katana is, and I they did not ever confirm that in any of the reports that this was the weapon that he used, but they kept calling it a samurai sword, and maybe he had another sword. I don't know, but the one he reviewed on Amazon, he talked about sharpening it and how it could pierce anything he wanted to use it on, and a real long review too. So anyway, the episode is out, and it asks some good questions. Like, I don't think people understand, if someone is declared mentally insane during trial, that's one thing. They're not going to go free, but they're going to go to a mental hospital, like a mental prison hospital. But before they commit a crime, if they don't commit a felony, they're just going to keep getting released back on the street. That's like the guy in my case, the guy that was in my stairwell. Um, he's schizophrenic too, and he just keeps getting in trouble. But he finally committed a felony. I don't know if I shared this, but in my case, he spent as much time as you can spend already in jail. He can't get any more jail time on my case. I'm not sure why this lawyer, over the summer, she just was convinced that I just didn't recognize this man or identify him properly. And I know what it was. My name doesn't track black. When you hear my name, you don't think black lady. So she read my name. She was familiar with people in her office, but she didn't know who I was. And I think she made some assumptions about me and this address. And when I got in there, she was trying to, all her questions were like, you couldn't have recognized him off of one time. And I was like, yes, I could. I mean, I didn't have the problems. I'm not some rich white lady that just glanced at him and kept it moving. I knew it was him because he tortured us the whole month of September in 2023. He was here the whole time, the whole month, multiple times. And I saw him three out of the four times he was in our building. And, I got her because I was like, oh no, I was looking at his face because my dying mother was upstairs and not 50 feet away, and I was not going to let him just get back right in the build, get right back into the building and knock on the door, and at the risk of having her answer. And so, I mean, I got her. I was black. I had a dying mama. Like she was like, "Oh Lord, I'm never gonna win." And the lady did actually go ahead and retire. She was hoping this would be her last big case, her last big hurrah. These public defenders, and she was the head of the PDs. You know, she just really had it in her mind that this guy had been wrongfully uh, treated because I worked for the prosecutor's office. And it's like, no, he's a menace. And listen, I'm sympathetic because I have a mentally ill sibling and I understand the challenges that come with that. But, you know, this fool is out here breaking in people's apartments and trespassing and masturbating. And I'm like, I saw what I saw. And also he was escalating. He started peeing all over everything. And so anyway, he stayed in jail for a year and a half on a misdemeanor, which was wild. You know, I set some sort of record. But then he got out and then he threw poop and hit a man in the face with it. He broke into another apartment when the man apartment building in the garage. When the man came over to be like, "Hey, sir, you're not supposed to be here," he threw poop at the man, hit him in the face. That's a felony, and he's back in jail. And I'm sure he'll get out eventually, because there's no safeguards. The person, since I think I think I said Nixon got rid of public health. I think he started it and then Reagan finished it. So there's no public mental health hospitals. I mean, there are a few, of course, but the whole idea of you can just take someone somewhere and have them housed, and like there's nothing until they commit a crime. So, and of course, they could always sign themselves out of hospitals and stuff. There's no perfect answer. You'd have to really invest time and energy and community into mental health to really um, make our society safer, because people have mental health issues and they're serious. You know, they're serious issues. They have taken enough drugs to give themselves psychosis. Some of them are diagnosed with psychosis. So they're having these mental breakdowns. They're dangerous. These are the cats that are standing in the subway system and just push you onto the train tracks because they heard somebody say that. Or somebody like the lady who just got in her car and drove from Memphis to St. Louis to stab somebody in the head at the dollar store. I mean, these are real things that happen. And as a society, we just don't seem to deal with them. You know, it's just sort of, you know, if you know, and good luck and keep your head on a swivel. But there are some very, very, very mentally ill people out here. And this story just points to a lot of the flaws in the system. And what do you do? What do you do about that? I mean, you're just a regular citizen minding your own regular citizen business, and you come across somebody who's in the middle of some sort of break. What are you going to do? So it's worth noting. So check that out, Mugshots and Murders. It's an interesting story. I mean, this young man was not what anybody would consider dumb. You know, that's the other thing. A lot of times these people have these breakdowns and they're very, very bright. They do very well in school. Like there's a very thin line between being a genius and being crazy. And I don't like saying crazy, but you know, for lack of a better word. So anyway, uh I'll be working on the video soon, but the audio is compelling as well. You know, I have had a quite a year. Uh, I was talking to somebody yesterday, one of my favorite former coworkers. We were having lunch, and you know, her mom's still alive. Mom will be 94, and I'm like, that's such a blessing. I cannot describe to you what losing my mom meant to me this year. If last year, it's been a year. It'll be a year next month. It's just a sorrow I cannot describe, which is weird because I describe a lot of things really, really well. But you know, it's just a sorrow, and it feels like something, not everything, but like something on your dashboard is unplugged, and you know, you're still moving and you're still effective in getting things done, but that one little, you know, tool over there, that meter, that reader, that whatever, on your instrumentation panel is just not working anymore. It's gone, and you notice it. It's weird. I can't, like I said, I cannot think of an analogy that's super accurate. But it is something that it is a sorrowful thing. When a woman loses her mother, it's a sorrowful thing. And my mom, especially in the last 3 years of her life, asked me every day if her mother was still alive. And the sorrow that would come over her face. Like, you're not supposed to tell them, but eventually, with Alzheimer's, man, they ask you so many questions back to back over and over again. You know, you're just looking for the way to make it stop. So, yeah, at first you play it off like, oh, she's on her way home. Oh, she'll be here soon. Oh, she'll. Then, if it's not a great day, you're just like, yes, mom. Yeah, or no, mom, your mom's gone. You did a great job by her, though. And then that forlorn sadness. And it'd be like every day she just reliving her mom's death. I kind of get it more now. But that's a cruel disease, Alzheimer's. And, you know, I don't know. I was watching something at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I wake up in the middle of the night, but I get to go back and sleep. So I did fall back asleep, but in the middle of the night, I was watching something. And I don't know how true this is because I didn't do any research on it yet. But apparently, in New Orleans, whoever created the original polio virus, it had something in it that caused cancer. And instead of pulling it off the market, they vaccinated 300,000 people. So, according to this man, and he's a doctor, I think his name is Dr. Jack Kruse, but it's spelled Kruse. And according to him, uh, they knew that this polio vaccine was tainted, but was something that caused cancer, but they went on ahead and vaccinated thousands of people with it. 300,000 people, he said, which created this spike in cancer that hadn't existed before. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I do know this. I read somewhere that the year 2025 would be the beginning and 2026 would be a big year also for the truth coming out, and that people would not want to believe what they were hearing, that you would realize that you've basically been surrounded by evil this whole time, and like nothing has been what you thought it was, which I feel like that's actually happening. The stuff I look at, the way my algorithms are set up, I don't know if that's true. Is it plausible? Yeah. Look how many people they gave that COVID. It wasn't even a real vaccine. And if you took it and if it makes you feel better and you feel good about the choice, that's, yes, good for you. But I don't know that I never wanted to take it. I remember when it was being announced. You heard on this podcast, if you were listening to me, that I was like, I don't know. I don't really want to be in the first wave of people that takes this thing. It came too fast. It's almost like they had the vaccine before they had the virus. And then you find out like the mRNA one was not what we were told. The mRNA one was designed to go in your body and change your DNA's reaction to viruses. Now, I wouldn't have signed up for that, but my job was like, if you don't get it, like you would have to like take your temperature every hour. You had to do all this crazy shit, and it was like, I don't have time for this. So you just took the jab, like all of us did, like 99% of us. There were a couple of holdouts, and I get it. I'm not sure this thing hasn't inflamed everybody's body. We don't know. Um, but I think they'll have a hard time forcing people to do it again. See, you got to when you shoot your shot, you got to make it do what you want it to do. I don't know if they were successful, um, but the vaccine that's out now is probably the real vaccine because the first thing wasn't. It was no way. It was just put together way too fast. So you have to be leery. And like I said, I had read about Fauci or saw a podcast about Fauci, he had been banned in America from doing that research. And he hired the Chinese labs. That's how they knew it came from a lab. He was the one outsourcing this dangerous virus work to these labs, and it escaped. You know, I'll have to look that up again, but I don't know anything about this polio thing. I just saw that this morning. I was like, see, that's plausible though, because he reported on cancer rates prior to 1930, and it was almost non-existent. And then after like 1950, cancer skyrocketed. And then people will say, well, you know, I I don't know because of course smoking and all of that stuff, they said that caused cancer. All you have to understand to me about disease is its gene expression. So if you had something that altered the gene expression, then something like smoking started to cause cancer in your body. And let's face it, we're at the point now where almost everything seems to cause some sort of cancer. Listen, I'm not a genius. I'm not saying all this stuff is factual. I'm asking you to go look it up like I'm going to go look it up and see what you think. And then make a decision. I'm just saying be prepared to find out that nothing is what you thought it was. That people aren't noble, that people don't have character, that people have been out here lying and playing in your face, my face too. All this history you hear about, it feels like people have been corrupted for a very, very long time. Like, I don't understand how the FDA has allowed the food and the drugs that it's allowed out into the world. I don't get it. Like, all of these things are disease causing. They make people sick. They make people unhealthy. They make people angry. And they have the research to back it up, and they still say you can eat it. And it's like, okay, everything has been for sale in America. And now it's finally coming to a head, and people are starting to realize, like, oh, I've just been scammed this whole time. Maybe I need to make a different decision. And maybe you do. Just do some research. I mean, nobody's hands are clean in this. I don't think Democrats are better than Republicans. Republicans are definitely not better than Democrats. They're all corrupted. They all are out here trying to serve two masters, and you're not one of them. They don't care about the people. Politics is completely corrupted. You know, people here pretend they're Democrats. They're not Democrats. They will go who pays them the most in bribes and donations. Um, it's a bleak time, but the good news is once you wake up and realize that you have the power, when we all start looking at each other like these fools have been telling us all this crazy shit, why don't we just build our own communities and do our own thing? And yeah, it like I said, it's probably gonna be racist and sexist. There'll be communities where I won't be welcome. Fine. I don't want to be a part of a community where I'm not welcome. You dig? I'm cool with that. Let's just leave each other alone. I feel like we're just way too overexposed to each other. Um, People are sharing shit that they shouldn't share. I don't want to know all these things. The world is definitely too much with us. And I will be a part of a cool people community because that's what I'm about. I don't care what your thing is. You can be whatever it is you want to be. And I'll defend your right to be that, but you better be cool. If you're not cool, do not come into my community. I don't want no drama. I'm not interested in a lot of nonsense, and please don't be a liar. I lying to me, you might as well just give it up. I will never ever. Well, I can't say never ever. I have forgiven people who've lied to me. I will forgive you, but I will know the boundary and I won't cross it again. And I might not ever trust you. And, trust is everything for me. So you will be very unhappy in my community if you're a liar. You'll want to leave. In fact, I'll encourage you to leave. Because if I can't trust you, then you're really not part of my community. But I think that's the future. I think we're going to go micro. People are going to be looking out for their own. And I think that's perfectly fine because we have been abused trying to get bigger and better. America has been on steroids for a long time, and we need to look at our three-letter institutions and the shadow government and these billionaires, because it's just like it's more than one bad group, right? We're seeing that it's more than just one group behind all of the mayhem and chaos. It's just like people who worship the devil. There's more than one kind of satanic group. You got people going back and finding ancient religions, and you think they're talking about God, like God that's godly and good, and the source and all of the things that I'm talking about. They're not talking about that. They're talking about their God and what they worship. And you can tell the difference because of how they look and how they act, because they're not godly. They are whatever they are worshiping. And it's starting to be hard to hide. So you can look at some of these people and see that they're dishonest, that they're lying, that they're dark, their energy's dark. They don't care about being godly at all. You know, when they started like just coming out in devil costumes, like that was just a clue. You know, it's like, okay, there was a time you wouldn't even be like pretending. And I think I'm in the last age group where it's like, what are y'all doing? Listen, the Catholic Church is not perfect, far from it. But I got a good education, and I really am strong in my convictions. Even the things that I learned in Catholic school that I'm opposed to, I have strong convictions, right? I believe what I believe. And when people start coming out and they just straight up dress like the devil, it's like that's a problem. Or you got Baphomet tattoos, or you making devil symbols, and that's how you want to be remembered. You know that okay, those are red flags. And there's more than one set of bad actors. It's more than one bad religion. There's bad and evil all around us. And if you were looking to try to understand what spiritual warfare looks like, this is it. You in it. And now you get to decide what you're going to do about it.